James, thank you very much for your time. First, in fact, could you introduce yourself first? That would be great.
Yeah, thanks, Gareth. Great to spend some time with you as always. James Ellender, so I head up the AFL's Expansion Hub here in Greater Sydney.
Brilliant. Thanks, James. And first question, if you can give us an insight into what participation in AFL in New South Wales currently looks like.
Yeah, great. AFL in New South Wales and the ACT is really strong. Participation and fan levels are reaching record proportions, with both the Giants and the Swans, hitting record numbers this year. I don't know if you know, but the Swans are nearly 62,500 members and the Giants are over 30. And you compare that to other sports and other markets, it's a really good job considering that there's a lot of opportunity upside from there. When we combine that and our community and Auskick participation, things are bouncing back to pre-COVID levels. We're also really inspired by the evolving Giants and Swannies AFLW sides. Our girls are leading the way in the participation increase, which is really exciting.
And in terms of that sort of club community space, James, what's that look like? And even, maybe areas that have been targeted for growth in terms of the demographics of people playing the game?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's been a really interesting sort of analysis period of late, looking at community footy and collectively the macro trends around community sport. I think, the AFL and our team aren't immune to the macro trends that are happening consistently about weekend footy and choice. And in the Greater Sydney region, it's definitely been challenging rebuilding to previous levels. Hence the focus and the appetite and investment from the AFL into that particular market. So my team works really closely with the team within the AFL New South Wales network, as well as the club network, to really connect all the moving parts of marketing and promotions and participation to build out that region, and get it to where we think it can be. But it definitely isn't immune to the challenges that we're all facing as sport in general. Hence the investment in the Expansion Hub.
Thanks, James. And seeing as you've mentioned the Expansion Hub, I'd love you to tell us a little bit more about it, i.e. what is its aims and objectives?
Yeah, great. Look, I'm really excited about the Expansion Hub. Being a Sydney-sider and living in the market for a long time, it really is a strategic investment in not a new challenge, but a new focus for the same challenge that we've had for a long time, and that's advocacy and awareness and interest in the code. So putting a very deliberate marketing, data and sales team together to work hand in glove with the code and really align every effort of our industry to find new audiences and grow our fans. So dedicated resources, people producing different content, new content, and being very deliberate about where and what we do, because as we know, the Sydney landscape, like the Australian landscape, is changing dramatically. So we're looking at, what does Sydney look like today? What does it look like 10 years from now? And what products need to be different? How do we need to connect with parents and the decision makers about participation and being part of the game? So we've, there's the initiatives that are spinning out, things like a thing called the village model, which is a really interesting concept of the AFL employing a PE teacher to go and work in schools that don't have access to PE teaching resources, and to really focus on curriculum-based and non-curriculum-based activities in a very small group of schools in a very deliberate area. So right now we're turning one on in Hurstville, we're also turning one on in Parramatta, and we will focus deliberately for a sustained amount of time in 5 schools and become part of that community in a village model approach, where we'll work not just with the kids and the students, but the teachers and the community and the families and the networks, to address more than just the idea of people buying into the game of AFL, but address community priorities. So that's one example of something that's coming out of what we do. The other, I guess, flow on from that is being hyper local. So we know that, particularly in Greater Sydney, and as you move into the west, it's not just local government areas that can look very different. It's suburbs and groups of clusters of areas within suburbs, and the dynamicness of migrant communities and new communities and these audiences that AFL is it's the first time they're even coming across the concept of AFL. We're going to be really deliberate about how we communicate, and we've been doing that before, but we've got to keep doing it over and over again, because that's just a continual community that's coming through these areas. So the village model is exciting, but this idea of being hyper local with content and education to educate people what it means to go to a game. This weekend at the Bombers versus Giants game, we've started a new program in Auburn. We've got 250 kids enrolled, 85% new to AFL. We've got 300 family members going to a game together on Saturday night, hosted by the Giants, welcomed, being all sitting together, getting a bus from Auburn in, that stuff. Once they have that first experience of an AFL game, we're hoping that they start to become fans and want to be part of it in more detail.
Brilliant, James. So you've got obviously targeting the schools, where everybody will experience physical education, so they can learn the skills and love of AFL. It sounds like you've got initiatives to encourage people to go and watch and become fans as well as players. And what else are the other priorities? Is it is there some infrastructure challenges? Is there some workforce challenges? Is there some support of community clubs in those areas that need looking at as well?
Yeah. Look, there's definitely all of that, and the challenge. Sydney and the northern market is different. There's a lot less round fields up here. I don't know if you know that, compared to the southern parts of this country. So facility infrastructure is a real challenge, and there's a whole team dedicated to that within the AFL sort of industry to really look at how do we, and there's been a whole investment unlocked through the AFL to prioritise that. There's also the challenge of quality clubs and quality competitions. There's a lot of work, beyond my remit in the Expansion Hub of looking at the best solution for competitions and pathways. Which means, what's the quality of competition, the accessibility of infrastructure, the accessibility of staffing. I think, no one's immune to the challenges of finding people right now to help scale. And so a lot of that starts to then come to the collaboration and the need to align effort. So if we want to tackle a new audience or a new community, well, who have we got to go with us, and where are they going to go? And who are they going to stay with once we've sort of done that initial injection? So all of that becomes quite a complex roadmap to navigate.
James, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate that.